I say that.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I call to order our June 5th, 2023 regular scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting to order this evening. I've asked Mayor Pro Tem Larry Smith, his birthday is actually also today, and I won't share with you his age. We'll see if he wants to tell you his age or not.
It's a big number.
It's not as big as you would think it could be in our invocation tonight. And Corporal Hamilton with our police department is going to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance tonight. All please stand.
Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for the opportunity we have to be here tonight. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity for those of us who are serving either as a staff member or department head or even as an elected official. Thank you for the opportunity to serve our fellow citizens here in Fuquay-Varina. It's an honor that we should take seriously as we serve our fellow citizens. Lord, tonight we come from different parts of our town, different things on the agenda, each bringing different ideas and thoughts to the table. I pray tonight that you'll help us as elected officials to ponder the things we hear, to seek your wisdom, and then render the best decision possible for our citizens. Lord, I pray when it's all said and done tonight, that you'll be pleased in everything that you see us do and everything you hear us say. Lord, we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Special Olympics had a torch run with the police department. Tuesday, tomorrow will be 1 week. And it was about a 2.5 mile run in Fuquay-Varina from starting in our downtown to the Fuquay-Varina Holly Springs border carrying the torch. And Corporal Hamilton is one of the fastest runners, if not the fastest runner in the police department, and led the pack at that time. And so we enjoyed running together with a whole crowd of members of the police department and members of the public that joined us that day. So that was a good run. Thank y'all. At this time, I ask Town Manager Mitchell to review the meeting protocol for public participation as it relates to this meeting. Adam, good evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Good evening, board members. Tonight's town board meeting is both in person and live streamed on the town's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Tonight's meeting contains a public comment period and 2 scheduled public hearings. The public is invited to comment in person. When it is the appropriate time, Mayor Massengill will call on those wishing to address the town board. All attendees that have appeared in person to address the town board during the public comment period should provide your name and address on the registration sheet by the podium prior to the public comment period beginning. We ask all those wishing to address the town board, either during the public comment period or a scheduled public hearing, to begin their comments by clearly stating their name and address for the public record. The public is asked to keep all comments to 3 minutes so that all that wish to speak can be heard in a timely manner. To be respectful of those that may have different views on matters addressed by the town board, we ask that all in attendance respect the decorum of the meeting by refraining from clapping, making loud noises, and generally showing support or displeasure for comments made during the public comment period or public hearings. Police Chief Medina will be asked to escort from the boardroom anyone not respecting this process, and it is the discretion of the mayor as presiding officer of the meeting as to whether or not to continue the public comment and or public hearing period if the meeting protocol is not followed. And this concludes the protocol for tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Manager. First item of business is the approval of the minutes of the May 16th, 2023 regular scheduled board meeting. Any changes or additions to the minutes? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 16th, 2023 Town Board of Commissioners regular scheduled meeting.
Second. Well, motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is a presentation and proclamation for Juneteenth. I'd like to read this proclamation in regards to Juneteenth for this month and talk about a couple of events that are coming up also in regards to it. Whereas Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, and Emancipation Day, is a holiday celebrating the emancipation of those who had been enslaved in the United States. And whereas on June 19, 1865, General Gordon Granger announced that slaves in Texas were free by the order of the President of the United States. The announcement came 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which had become official on January 1st, 1863. And whereas freedmen in Texas organized the first of what became the annual celebration of Jubilee Day on June 19th. And whereas June 19th has a special meaning to African Americans and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. And whereas Juneteenth celebrates African American freedom and achievement, a day of liberation, resilience, and fortitude, and whereas Juneteenth commemorates African American freedom and emphasizes education and achievement, it is a day, a week, and in some areas, a month marked with celebrations, guest speakers, picnics, and family gatherings. And whereas Juneteenth is a time for reflection and rejoicing, it is a time for assessment, self-improvement, and a planning for the future. Its growing popularity signifies a level of maturity and dignity in America long overdue. In cities across the country, people of all races, nationalities, and religions are joining hands to truthfully acknowledge a period in our history that shaped and continued to influence our society today. When we are sensitized to the conditions and experiences of others, only then can we make significant and lasting improvements in our society. And whereas on Thursday, June 17th, 2021, after unanimous passage in the United States Senate and subsequent passage in the House, President Biden signed a bill making Juneteenth a federal holiday. And whereas the town of Fuquay-Varina is a proud sponsor of Manifest, a Juneteenth celebration, the first in STEM event will be held on June 16th, and our original production, Freedom to What, will be held on June 19th, both at the Fuquay-Varina Arts Center. Now therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Blake Massengill, Mayor of the town of Fuquay-Varina, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2023 as Juneteenth in the town of Fuquay-Varina, and urge everyone to become more aware of the significance of the celebration in African American history and the heritage of our nation and our town. Proclaimed this 5th day of June 2023 in Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina. You know, earlier this year, we had a series of videos that were made for Black History Month, and I'm very proud of the videos and the people that were involved and helped bring that to fruition. And here in Juneteenth, there are two great events that have been on the calendar previously, was Manifest, and then also the First in STEM is an event with education. That's a play at the Arts Center. And so these are two great events that I encourage you to get your tickets to if you haven't already, because it will sell out quickly. Maureen, you've had great participation so far on it, and I know there's limited space, so don't wait till the last minute, correct? Great. That's a great group of people have been working hard and practicing and rehearsing also at the same time, so it's going to be a great event. I look forward to being there too. Thank you. Public comment period. At this time, the town clerk will call on individuals that are in attendance and have registered to address the town board prior to the meeting. The public comment period is a time for the public to address the town board about any matter that is not the subject of a scheduled public hearing. Those speaking are asked to begin by clearly stating your name and address for the public record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. Rose, do you have anybody signed up?
No one signed up for public comments.
Nobody signed up? Okay. No items tabled from previous meetings. Public hearings are a time for the petitioner to present his or her request and for public to give input and voice their favor or opposition to the request. If you wish to speak and are physically in attendance, please step forward to the podium one at a time, provide your name and address on the registration log at the podium, and clearly state your name and address for the public record. We ask all those addressing the town board to please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all that wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. First public hearing tonight, item 7A, zoning map amendment, Malden Watkins surveying 218 King Street, Pam, good evening.
Good evening. I am entering the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town. Scott, can you advance, please? The purpose of this agenda is to consider a requested zoning map amendment for a total of .618 acres located at 218 King Street from the Downtown Center 2 DC2 zoning district to the Town Center Residential TCR zoning district. The subject property technically consists of 3 vacant lots as created with the King and Norwood subdivision recorded back in 1928. They're located within the town's corporate limits. Advance, Scott. As TCR zoning requires, an accompanying plot plan has been submitted. While proposed Lot 1 does not meet the minimum TCR width or area standards for a single-family detached lot, it is consistent with Lot 44 as platted back in 1928 and is being developed as a non-conforming lot of record, which may be developed for a single-family home. The current TCR building setbacks are applicable to both lots as shown on the proposed plan. Scott, advance, please. The petitioner has requested site-specific conditions, including front doors with glazing, transoms and/or side lights, decorative details on front-facing garage doors, no vinyl except decorative elements, a street tree each front yard, and a sewer extension. Public water and sewer utilities are available to serve the subject property, but as a condition, the public sewer main will be extended to serve both proposed homes. The requested zoning is consistent with the 2040 land use plan. A neighborhood meeting was held by the petitioner as required, and the meeting report is attached. At the May 15th, 2023 regular meeting, the planning board voted unanimously to recommend approval. Next slide. The motion tonight is to approve REZ 2023-03, a zoning map amendment for 218 King Street from the Downtown Center 2 DC2 zoning district to the Town Center Residential TCR zoning district. The proposed amendment is consistent with the 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan and reasonable and in the best interest for the public for the reasons identified by management and staff. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions at this time? Thank you, Director Davison. The hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of the zoning map amendment?
Good evening, Mayor, board members. I'm Wayne Malden with
Evening.
Malden Watkins Surveying at 139 North Main Street. We put this petition together you have before you here tonight. If any of you been by there, it's the old Lexi McLean house when I was a young'un, some 50 years ago. But it's the lot just to the left of the house. They have just remodeled that house. My client is wanting to buy the other lot, and he's gonna build his personal house on that lot. We've been out there and we've met with, Mr. Wagner has been out and checked the sewer. He's agreed to extend the sewer. There's a sewer line that runs up the road, but I stopped up and full of concrete, so we're gonna either tear that up and put a new sewer line in the road, or we'll go over and run one down beside the road. If any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Thank you, Wayne.
No, thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak in favor of the zoning map amendment? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to the zoning map amendment? Hearing is now closed. Any discussion by the board? What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the REZ 2023-03, a zoning map amendment for 218 King Street from the Downtown Center 2 zoning district to the Town Center Residential zoning district. The proposed amendment is consistent with the 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan and reasonable and in the best interest of the public for the reasons identified by management and staff.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next public hearing, item 7B, Town Code Amendment, Town of Fuquay-Varina Land Development Ordinance Amendment Number 23, CTA-2023-01. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Planning Director Davison. Pam, welcome again.
Thank you. I'm entering the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official records of the town. The purpose is to consider a proposed text amendment to the Town Code of Ordinances, Part 9, Land Development Ordinance, that addresses several areas for improvement. In addition to some grammatical corrections, the parking section for compact and electric vehicles has been amended to remove the mandatory requirement to dedicate a minimum of 5% of proposed parking spaces to compact vehicles, and to add several definitions relating to electrical vehicle charging. Since the planning board meeting on May 15th, additional feedback prompted staff to remove requirements for electric vehicle charging stations so that their inclusion will be market-driven. The cottage home development type has also been defined and added to the permitted use table. Previously, cottage homes were an allowed development type in the TCR and PUD zoning districts, but it had never been fully incorporated into the permitted use table. Additional standards have also been added to each zoning district's articles. In addition, the maximum height limit in both CMU and EMU form-based districts has been raised to 75 feet from 50 feet and 70 feet respectively to encourage design flexibility and vertical mixed-use development. At the May 15th, 2023 regular meeting, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend approval. The motion tonight is to approve CTA 2023-01 Amendment 23, an amendment to the Town Code of Ordinances, Part 9 Land Development Ordinance, as presented and recommended by town staff. The text amendment improves upon the Land Development Ordinance and is reasonable and in the best interest of the public for the reasons identified by management and staff. I am available for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Director Davison. The hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of the Town Code Amendment? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to the Town Code Amendment? Hearing is now closed. Any discussion by the board? What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve CTA 2023-01, Amendment Number 23, an amendment to the Town Code of Ordinances, Part 9 Land Development Ordinance as presented and recommended by town staff. The text amendment improves upon the Land Development Ordinance and is reasonable in the best interest of the public for the reasons identified by management and staff.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. What's the board's pleasure on the items on the consent agenda?
Give me just a second. That's 3 items, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 8A, 8B, and 8C as presented and recommended.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Get item D, right?
Is there an item D on there?
No, just A, B, and C.
Why is it item D on,
I don't see an item D.
is that a D? Hey, wait a minute, let me just double check. Hold on.
I see it there. I see it.
Oh, okay, all right.
I see
My
what it is.
mistake.
I see what it is. Okay.
Next item, administrative reports, fiscal year 2023 to 2024 operating budget and 5-year operating and capital plan. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell. Adam?
Thank you, Mayor, and we do have a presentation for this, so I'll go over these slides briefly with the board this evening. Just as a reminder, we have had a public hearing that was conducted at our last meeting on May 16th. We also provided an opportunity for the public to weigh in after the budget was published on the town's website on May 2nd on Let's Talk FV that ran through May 16th as well. We had 11 or so comments, and those were provided to the town board at the last meeting as well. We've shown the budget video publicly at this board setting twice, and we've also had it available for the public to view on our website since May 2nd as well. Just as a reminder to the board and to the public, the fiscal year 24 operating budget includes an ad valorem tax rate of 45.5 cents per $100 at full valuation. The total general fund budget is $57,396,062. The debt service fund budget is $5,536,511, and the capital reserve fund budget in the general fund is $2,615,689. Next slide, please. So again, just as a reminder, there were a few changes from the manager's recommended budget that I did review with the board at the last meeting. Debt service adjusted after May 9th bond sale. We went ahead and just trued that up to make it accurate. minor corrections to the salary and benefits costs after the presentation that was presented to the town board at the last meeting. And none of these minor changes affect the total budget from what was originally presented. We were able to shore those numbers up and make sure that the bottom line numbers all matched what was presented to the board and to the public. Next slide. This just gives you a snapshot. This pie chart here gives you a snapshot of how general fund revenues are broken down. Half of the general fund revenues are allocated to ad valorem taxes, and about 20% are sales taxes. You do have unrestricted and restricted intergovernmental taxes that make up about 8%, permits and fees, 6%, sales and service, 10%, and then some minor percentages in other areas as well. Next slide. This just gives you a little bit of a snapshot, bar chart, trending analysis of our 10-year fund balance history. And as you can see, at June 30th of 2022, we were just at $27 million. Next slide. Our 10-year tax rate history, it's ebbed and flowed. You can see where at the bottom in 2017 and 2021, those asterisks represent revaluation timeframes. So you can see how our property tax has changed. And then most recently in 2023, 42.5 cents, and again, it'll go to 45.5 cents with the implementation of a 3-cent property tax rate increase tied to the Community Center North debt service. Next slide. Our 10-year property value history has also gone up. This is a good thing. We're just over $5 billion at the end of 2022. Next slide. As it relates to expenses, and we have several departments, obviously, in our general fund, this pie chart here shows you how our expenses are broken down. The lion's share being public safety-related expenses, police, 19%, fire, 16%, parks and recreation is 10%, debt service is 9%. So these are the areas where the majority of our expenses are allocated, and you can see for the remaining departments how those percentages break down. Next slide. In terms of every $100 paid in property tax, this pie chart shows you how it's broken down from the standpoint of where your $100 goes to as a tax-paying citizen. Again, 34% towards public safety, or $34. $19,548,000 of our total budget is related to public safety. 16% or $16 related to public works. Internal services is 12%. Arts and recreation is also 12% or $12. Debt service makes up $10 of a total $100 tax payment at $5.7 million. Development services, excuse me. Debt service is 9% at $4.8 million. General government, $2.1 million or $4 of a $100 property tax payment. Appropriations to fund balance, $2. Economic and community development, $1. And then less than $1 is transferred to capital projects. Next slide. As it pertains to our 5-year plan, now this chart includes loans and bonds calculated into it. Remember, I mentioned earlier we had a $57 million general fund budget. Well, when you factor in loans and bonds and capital reserve support for capital projects, that number balloons up to $73 million. But the left-hand column represents those areas that revenues are accounted for, and then across the spreadsheet here are the next 5 years, fiscal year 24 through fiscal year 28, and this represents what we estimate our revenues to be during those particular fiscal years. You can see in fiscal year 24, we are showing revenue generated from property tax collections pertaining to the 3-cent property tax increase for the Community Center North project. And then you can also see where we will begin collecting property taxes for transportation bond approval, the 3.5 cents in fiscal year 2025. We also expect that we're going to begin generating some revenue in property tax from the commercial retail center, the Gold Leaf commercial project in fiscal year '25 would be when those revenues begin, and you can see they ramp up over several years. Sales and use tax continues to grow in our assumptions, as do sanitation fees, sales and service. These are all areas. One area I would note is permits and fees. We are showing in fiscal year '25 through fiscal year '28 some levelization, primarily showing that because here in fiscal year '23 we have seen some levelizing, still growth, but levelizing and growth. So we're trying to be a little bit more conservative in our projections. This very well may pan out to be more conservative than expected, and we'll reevaluate that next year as we go through this process again. But for right now, that is what our projections show. Loans and bonds, $13.9 million in '24, $7.9 million in '25, all tied to capital projects. The $9 million in appropriations for the general fund, fund balance appropriation in fiscal year '25 accounts for the town's participation in a downtown parking structure, should we formalize that in the form of a development agreement. Happy to answer any questions about revenues projected over the 5-year time frame before we move on to expenses. You've seen these numbers several times in the last several months, so they should look familiar to you. Scott, if you'll move on to the next slide, please. So again, there's a requirement to balance the budget plan, and that's what this spreadsheet here shows. These are our various departments in the general fund. The row to point out is the very bottom row, revenues over expenses, all balance out to zero. So you can see we're presenting to the town board a balanced plan, and you can see how the various expenses per department are identified over the course of that 5-year. We also show below the subtotal row existing debt, new debt expenses, and you can see the new debt in fiscal year '25 and '26 begins to balloon and increase because some of these large capital projects, community center, transportation-related projects, that debt will be coming online. Transfers, capital projects, and bond capital projects, and appropriations to fund balance. And so you can see that appropriations to fund balance, that line item is an expense line item. So in those first 2 years, we are projecting a bit of a surplus where that will go away in the outer years. Any questions from the board? Next slide. Now just hopping from general fund to enterprise fund, utility fund, total water and sewer operations budget is $22.9 million. It is anticipated that water and sewer capital projects will be, that is not a miscalculation there or a misnomer there, $273 million. And then anticipated water and sewer maintenance projects at $1.4 million. Next slide. Here, looking over the 5-year horizon and revenues, you'll see how we're assuming and calculating revenues related to water sales, rate increases. We mentioned before that the fiscal year '24 budget does include a 20% rate increase in water and sewer consumer rates. We're also increasing system development fees, which has been discussed as well. So there's a fair balance there between ratepayers and development. Water tap fees, water meter sales, interest earnings, miscellaneous revenue, sewer tap fees, pre-treatment fees. These are all factored into our revenues. And you can see we're projecting growth over those 5 years as well in new resident ratepayers and commercial ratepayers, not just resident, commercial as well. Next slide. Again, here we talk about water and sewer rates established. We do have base rates for meter size, and then we also have our volumetric rates. And these are the rates that the rate study that we had conducted on our behalf came out based on the debt service and the capital investments that we're going to be making, the type of rates that we need to be able to pay for that debt service. Next slide. On the expense side of the income statement, you've got 5 years here as well. Operations, growth in operations as well. New positions are factored in, capital equipment, transfer to capital projects. We are committing to an aggressive capital project investment over the course of 5 years. Transfers to debt service and designated to fund balance our total expenditures. You'll see in some years we're showing a sizable surplus, and in some years a sizable shortfall. The point to make here is over the 5-year horizon, it balances actually with a little bit of a surplus. Next slide. And so all of this information, again, has been available and continues to be available on the town's website, Fuquay-Varina.org, budget information. So anyone who wants to look or who has wanted to look at the budget has had that available to them to do so. If they want to look after the fact as well, it will remain there until the next year's budget is updated and put on the website. You can also find it on the town's transparency portal. The budget video will be there too for ease as well. Some people prefer to read the written statement and comb through the numbers. Some like to watch the abbreviated version on the video and get the gist of the budget as well. So all of that information is available. I believe that's the last slide other than the recommendation slide. The recommendation to the town board this evening is by motion to adopt the fiscal year 23-24 operating budget to include the budget ordinance, which was included with your agenda materials, the fee schedule, also included with your agenda materials, and the 5-year operating and capital plan as presented and recommended. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the town board may have.
I just have a question for clarification.
Go ahead,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on the general fund, the FTEs, there's and I think this is good, but I just wanted to be clear about it. It's the 11 FTEs in the police department. Is the police department going to develop a traffic unit? Is that?
We have a traffic unit already.
These additional positions are specific?
That's right. Some of these may be assigned to traffic unit, some of these assigned to patrol, some of these perhaps assigned to investigation. We have 2 in particular that were discussed at our budget workshop that'll be assigned to downtown
Right, I
specific.
saw those.
But yes, sir, so many of these positions will be allocated across the org chart for the police department.
But there is a specific traffic?
There is,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay, I just thank you, I just.
Yes,
saw
sir.
that. All right.
I appreciate management's time, all the staff's time, not just the finance department, every different department had to put together their individual budgets and spend a lot of time putting this budget forward to us. And this board's discussed many of these of its goals between retreat and budget workshop and multiple meetings. And the tweaks that we have requested to be made to it have been made to it too. And just as Commissioner Harris mentioned right here, additional police officers in different locations, and Chief's got a good plan about where they're needed at regards to that. And I think this budget checks off the box of pretty much what the board has discussed right here. So I appreciate all of y'all's hard work and time in this in regards to it. And I feel like it's very satisfactory of what the board's looking for. The tax increase is relative to a bond that was voter approved, and tax increase is less than what the voters approved
That is correct.
at the time. So yeah, so nothing.
Mr.
here's
Mayor,
new.
I would just echo your comments. I would just say to the town board, job well done. You gave good clarity and vision and direction to management and staff during the budget retreat, during the board retreat. And again, you did it during the budget workshop. Mayor, you're right on point. Appreciate you acknowledging that. I meant to say that as well, but appreciate the direction that given to management and staff by the board. Appreciate the hard work by our finance team and our department directors.
That's right. And it's balanced. We like that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, finance team. Thank you, Katie. Okay, any other questions or comments by board members? If not, we will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2023-2024 operating budget to include the budget ordinance, the fee schedule, the 5-year operating and capital plan as presented and recommended.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda, second administrative report, introduction of bond orders, scheduling the public hearing. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Finance Director Crabtree.
Good evening. This is the Next step in these bond authorizations tonight is to introduce the bond order, and the bond order authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds for parks and recreation facilities in the maximum amount of $60 million. The Board of Commissioners of the town has stated the proposal to issue the general obligation bonds to pay for capital costs for providing these recreational projects. We have applied to the North Carolina Local Government Commission for its approval of the bonds, and as of today, they have accepted that application. Be it ordered by the Board of Commissioners of the town of Fuquay-Varina as follows. If you'll, next slide. 1, there are hereby ordered to be issued general obligation bonds to pay for capital costs providing for parks, recreation facilities, including without limitation, athletic fields, parks, trails, greenways, playgrounds, recreational centers, shelters, stadiums, arenas, permanent and temporary stands, golf courses, swimming pools, wading pools, marinas, and lighting, buildings for recreational purposes, and buildings for the administration of recreational programs, along with the acquisition of land and interests in land for these and related purposes together, and related to financing and other necessary incidental costs. We want to make sure we covered everything in regards to recreational facilities. The maximum amount, aggregate principal of the bonds issued for such purpose will be $60 million. Taxes will be levied in an amount sufficient to pay for the principal and the interest of those bonds. A sworn statement of debt prepared by myself has been filed with the town clerk and will be open to public inspection, and this bond order will take effect once it is approved by the town voters in a matter provided by law. The management staff recommendations, motion 2, we are introducing the bond order tonight in form as presented, adopted, and we need to adopt the resolution to set the public hearing, and then authorize the filing of the sworn statement of debt and the statement of estimated interest as presented. And those will be filed with Rose tomorrow. Any other questions? This is just step 2 of this process.
Any questions by board members? Okay, this is moving in the direction of the voters deciding on the $60 million bond to be on the ballot this fall for Parks and Rec items.
Yep.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Joanne. It's a busy night for you. Any further comments by board members? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to introduce the bond order in the form presented, adopt a resolution to set the public hearing, and authorize the filing of the sworn statement of debt and the statement of estimated interest as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. One item I did want to recognize, I should have earlier in the evening, is we have one of our new police officer hires here, Kirby Coates, that's here. And Kirby, I should have recognized you earlier in the meeting, and then I've been trying to think of the right time to introduce you to everybody. I didn't want you to step out or get a call, so I said, what better time than now, while you're right here. So this is Kirby Coates right here. I swore him in last week, I believe, and with us here. So Kirby comes with experience and with a great department. So welcome, Kirby. Next, administrative report, item 10C, budget amendment BA-23-54, project ordinance amendment POA 23-13, and contract award TA Loving Company, Southern Oaks Gravity Sewer Project, $2,931,569. More information about the agenda item will be presented by Public Utilities Director Wagner. Mike, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This item is consider this budget amendment, project ordinance amendment, and contract in the amount of $2,931,569 to firm TA Loving Company. Rapid growth in the Southern Oaks Sewer Basin has reached design capacity in the sewer collection system. This project will extend gravity sewer lines, and in addition to that, it will take off the Highway 42 and the Southern Oaks pump stations. On April 4th of 2023, the town posted a request for qualifications for design build firms and received 5 qualified statement of qualifications. There is a fiscal note associated with this project, and it will be funded by the $2 million of 2023 sewer GO bonds sold in May of 23. The budget amendment 2354 is requesting to appropriate and transfer $931,569 from sewer capital reserve, and this fund balance is recommended to be transferred from reserves with an intent to reimburse. Next slide. This project will extend down from Academy Street and cross the railroad tracks, and will extend down south past Bowling Road and ultimately connect into the southern area of town that goes into the gravity sewer outfall with Harnett County. Next slide. Management and staff's recommendation is a motion to approve the Southern Oaks Gravity Sewer Project Budget Amendment 2354, Project Ordinance Amendment 2313, and contract award to TA Love & Company to design and manage construction of the Southern Oaks Gravity Sewer Project in the amount of $2,931,569 as presented and recommended, subject to town attorney review as to form. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments from board members? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the Southern Oaks Gravity Sewer Project, Budget Amendment BA 2354, Project Ordinance Amendment POA 2313, and contract award to TA Loving Company to design and manage construction of Southern Oaks Gravity Sewer Project, the amount of $2,931,569 as presented, recommended, subject to a town attorney review as a form.
Second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda, Administrative Report, item 10D, Infrastructure Agreement, Madison Park Apartments. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Public Utilities Director Wagner. Mike, thank you.
Yep, thank you. This item is to consider this infrastructure agreement between the town of Fuquay-Varina and VCP FV LLC for the Mills Branch and Middle Creek pump station upgrades and the sewer system along US 401. Town staff identified upgrades in the 5-year capital improvement plan to increase sewer capacity along this route, and upgrades were prompted by the developers of the Madison Park Apartment project. Gravity and pump station upgrades will support Madison Park Apartments project and the future development along 401 and the corridor. The agreement is in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 160A.320, which allows infrastructure reimbursement agreements. There is a fiscal note associated with this, and the reimbursement will not exceed $2 million for the collection system improvements. This project, there's 2 gravity sewer line upgrades along 401 north of the 540 project, and the 2 pump station, Mills Branch and Middle Creek, are south of the Madison Park Apartment project that's going on. Next slide. So management and staff's recommendation is a motion to authorize the town manager to execute an infrastructure agreement between the town of Fuquay-Varina and VCP FV LLC as presented and recommended.
You know, Mike, this is one of those projects that we're getting ready to go through and do that not only opens up existing infrastructure, but at the same time is a project that we're going to be able to collect a large amount of revenue and fees for to help us for our future projects at the same time. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right. Any further questions for management or staff? If not, entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move we authorize the town manager to execute an infrastructure agreement between the town of Fuquay-Varina and VCP FV LLC as presented and recommended.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is other business, item 11A, manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to some of the items that are listed on the agenda for your information, I do want to just update the board on a few happenings in our departments. It is our plan that at the second meeting in June, June 20th, to have a recommendation before the board on a selected consultant for the community transportation plan update. So we'll be looking forward to bringing that to you as well. And our planning department has recently approved plans for both the Community Center North project and for the Hilltop Needmore Elementary School. And so both of those projects are advancing forward, and I expect you'll be seeing a lot of construction along that property here in the not so distant future, certainly later this summer.
Adam, what do you, let me interrupt real quick. That, talking about those two projects going in, and one of our traffic projects is right around the corner in there. How do you think they'll kind of coincide with each other?
Make sure the traffic project being,
Hilltop Needmore Road and Johnson Pond, stoplight intersection. We're talking about all the traffic that'll be generated from there.
yeah, I'll have to follow up with you on that, Mayor. I'm not sure how, I know those two building projects will be
Probably ahead a little
later
bit.
this summer, be ahead. Exactly how far ahead, I'll need to follow up with you and the board on with the
Because
intersection.
I think that's huge there that we're able to plug that in, so that intersection's coming in. We're gonna be a little bit behind it, but at least
Right.
it's happening versus
That's right.
nothing happening. But also, don't forget up there at Hilltop and 401, that intersection getting redone.
Correct.
Lake Wheeler come through.
And
that
that one's
traffic is
not,
really going to move.
that one's not so far off, the Hilltop 401.
Couple years out on right-of-way acquisition,
Yeah.
a year construction.
That's right.
3 years, and things are proactive projects. going, so
Exactly.
I just want, thank you.
That's right. A lot of activity going to be happening up in that area for sure. I did want to just make the board aware that our IT department has been rolling out, or has begun rolling out, some project management software that our departments will be using to track projects. We've got a lot going on, and right now we're tracking it in a bit of an antiquated way, and so we're going to use our new software to help us better track it, better be able to provide information to the board and to the public on where projects stand at any given time. It'd also be good for our staff to be able to keep a better finger on the pulse of project management. So we're excited about the IT department rolling that software out. We're also going to be updating our conference rooms here at the town hall with Zoom conference capabilities. And so we're going to have better video conference capabilities in all of our conference rooms here at town hall. The town hall construction is been going very nicely upstairs. We've added additional office space upstairs for new employees that will be coming online in the next several years, and they're going to be doing some renovation on the downstairs part of town hall here pretty shortly. So excited to see those improvements. If you get a chance at some point to see what's going on upstairs, just let myself or Jim know, or Jonathan know. We'd be happy to give you a tour of that space. HR, we have done some recent traffic safety training in several of our departments, and our HR department has been pretty busy with open enrollment for health and benefits for all of our employees. And so that ends here this week, the open enrollment process, but that's a big process and it's a time-consuming process. So want to recognize and thank Wendy and her team for the work that they've been doing to make it seamless for our employees this year. Also, we are soliciting bids right now for the Varina parking lot for the property that was not so long ago donated to us to make those parking lot improvements, as well as the South Judge, South Main intersection project. So looking forward to bringing some contract approval recommendations to the board in the near future on those. I'll also just note that the inspections department has seen an uptick here in the last couple of months, and single-family residential permits. So we're seeing that where we may have had a little bit of an ebb and flow in the previous 6 months or so, things are starting to escalate back up again. So we're keeping an eye on that for sure. Our economic development department is working on an update to the economic development strategic plan. The last time we did a strategic plan was in 2015, I believe. And so it's time to revisit that and update that. And so we've got a group of stakeholders in the community. We'll have the board engaged on that at a stage in the process as well. Ultimately, the board will be asked to adopt that plan once we get it to a form that we're ready to recommend it to the board. Station 4, Fire Station 4 is moving along quite nicely. You've seen the roof has been installed on it, and it won't be long before they'll be starting to get on the inside of the building. So some good movement being made there. We're going to have a live burn training for the fire department on Woodland Drive on June 15th. So if you hear anything about that, see smoke in the sky, you'll know on June 15th that is a controlled live burn for training purposes. Would also just mention fire department related that we've had 3 career ladder promotions recently and 1 new certification for the deputy fire marshal. Matthew Etheridge advanced from a firefighter 1 to a firefighter 2. Justin Sloan, the same, firefighter 1 to a firefighter 2. Laredo Anderson, a firefighter 2 to a senior firefighter. And then Vincent Ferraza, level 3 fire inspector certification. So great work from our team in the fire department advancing their career goals. I also would just mention to the board this evening that we have 34 dancers performing at Walt Disney World next week from our dance program at the Arts Center. So we're proud and excited that they're going to be down there representing Fuquay-Varina at Walt Disney World. And chorale members wrap up their fundraising efforts this week in preparation for their trip to Carnegie Hall on July 8th to represent Fuquay-Varina in the big city of New York. Community Center North project, as I mentioned, soliciting bids. The bid opening will be held on June 27th. Fall youth athletics registration opened today. So just as we're wrapping up spring, fall is, we're accepting registration for fall. Noah Mass has joined the Parks and Recreation Cultural Resources team as an athletic program specialist, and he comes to the town from Wake Forest University campus recreation. So we're excited to have some of his experience brought into our group. And then Heather Adams started as our new Assistant Public Utilities Director. And so we're very excited to have Heather come on board, bring some energy and experience to assist Mike in the many projects and ongoings that we have in the Public Utilities Department. I think her skill set is going to add a lot of value to the town. With that, I would just note that you do have a project status report in your agenda materials. A number of projects, and you'll see a lot of boxes being checked. We're starting to check some of those boxes off, and anticipation for more boxes in the new fiscal year. Financial quarterly report is also provided to you, representing 3 quarters of the fiscal year 23, and you can see how we're trending there. All numbers look very good there, as we've expected and accounted for with our fiscal year 24 budget. Coffee with a Cop will be on June 7th, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. at Mama Gonna Snap, which is a photography business, I believe, here in our community. So if you're available to attend that, June 7th, 9 to 10:30. The Arts Center, the mayor mentioned it earlier, Manifest Fuquay-Varina presents STEMology. This will be on Friday, June 16th from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Arts Center. And then on June 19th, Manifest Fuquay-Varina Juneteenth celebration. And that'll be from 6 p.m. with a pre-show reception at 5:30 p.m. So we're excited about the Manifest events that will be happening that weekend. Our Independence Day celebration at South Park will be on Saturday, July 1st. The gates will open at 6 p.m. and we are expecting, weather permitting, a large crowd, being that it's on a Saturday and it's right there before July 4th. We're expecting a large crowd to attend if weather cooperates. And then obviously, as tradition holds, we'll have one meeting in July, one town board meeting in July on July 10th at 7 p.m. There will be no meeting on July 3rd or on July 18th. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the town board may have. Otherwise, that concludes my comments.
Questions or comments from management? Okay. Thank you, Manager. Commissioner Coroner is traveling outside the country tonight, so she cannot have any town board member comments. Commissioner Harris?
No comment, Mr. Mayor, tonight. Thank you.
Commissioner Haynes?
No comments.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
I had something to say, but it's very brief. I was going to jump, no comments as well, but let me say something briefly. This past week, I had the opportunity to go out to the Wake County Fire Training Academy and visit with our 8 rookie firefighters who are, I think, they're all on schedule to graduate here in a couple of weeks. One in particular, I'm tracking his progress closely, but anyway, we went out and got a chance to watch them just perform some of the things they've learned. And it was just really exciting to see our 8 firefighters interact with the other firefighters in the county as teams. They've learned teamwork, they're putting out fires, doing some really neat stuff. They're all out with their turnout gear, act like they knew what they were doing. And I will add that there were a couple of local fire department trucks there to assist. And I'm not just saying it because it was Fuquay. We had our nice shiny ladder truck out there, and it's the best looking truck on the lot. And they actually demonstrated, they did a rescue simulation on the ladder truck from a multi-story building that was on fire. So it was pretty exciting to watch. I could feel the heat from the fire way back where the spectators were. Wow. And I looked at those young firefighters right up on it. I said, they've got to be hot, because I could feel the heat where I was at. But very impressive. Got a chance to visit with our new firefighters. Even got a picture snapped with them, and they're very excited. They cannot wait to get completed this last 2 weeks and come to work and do all the other fun things Chief Jones has planned for them when they get here. So it was a great night, Chief. I enjoyed being out there with them. It was great to see your new firefighters. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Smith. I do got a couple comments to make, but I will have, before that 8 o'clock mark, we do have a closed session tonight. Congressman Nickel came to town last week, and we showed him the water tower project, and he is having in our budget with the at Congress to get us our $2 million for our water tank. And so it's not done yet, but it's very, very positive. I like the location and continue to move forward on that. And so that is very positive. That'll help out a lot for those water and sewer projects, won't it, Mike? Yeah. Run the Quay, sold out event. Staff did a great job along with the chamber, 2 groups working together, the town of Fuquay-Varina and the Chamber of Commerce on Run the Quay. Sold out event, great turnout. Everybody ran fast. The one that won the 10K, turned around and won the 5K right off the bat. And those of y'all, that's fast. And I did not have a heart attack, and I ran it, but survived, and it was good. Enjoy that. Not the winner, but it was good. It was fun. Enjoy that. Great thing. But staff, appreciate your time involved with that, because it is a lot of different departments that are involved with that and be able to help get that done. Quality Equipment. Manager and I met with the CEO and the CFO of Quality Equipment, and they had here in Fuquay-Varina the other day, and so I've been going to different businesses, just wanting them to know that we're glad to have them in Fuquay-Varina. And this company right here has over 30 locations, a headquarters located in Fuquay-Varina with over $500 million a year in revenue. And their headquarters here in Fuquay-Varina, small local company, not so small, doing $500 million in sales, and so that's pretty incredible. And so building a good relationship right there. I just want everybody to know that. So. Great organization. We do, Manager, I believe we do have a closed session tonight.
Yes, sir. I'm recommending we go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A3, attorney-client privilege.
Any motion?
So moved.
Motion, second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right. Motion carries. We'll go to closed session. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight.